The Siege of the Blood Monks. On the third night of the siege, the snow fell red. Brother Lucien ran through the torchlit halls, clutching the reliquary to his chest. Outside, the enemy howled against the gates, but something had already breached the walls. The relic bled through its chains, each drop bright as fresh ink on the stone. What the brothers guarded was older than the church itself, and it wanted out. Year 1123, in the high Carpathian mountains. The monastery of St. Theodric clung to the cliff like a stone crown, its walls half buried in snow and ice. Inside those walls lived 30 brothers, each sworn to silence about the thing sealed in their crypt. Brother Lucien was among them, a man in his late 20s, pale from long fasts, with close-cropped dark hair beneath his shaved tonsure. His eyes were deep-set, almost black, and his hands bore the permanent stains of ink and candle soot. Above him ruled Abbot Marek, tall and lean, his face all hard lines and shadows, a white scar running from ear to collarbone. He spoke little, but when he did, it was law. Beyond the monastery's frozen gates waited Captain Dragos and his men, fur-clad soldiers who had come not for the monks, but for what the monks protected. The brothers worked by day to mend the battered walls, and by night they prayed in the dim light of the reliquary's chamber. But the relic had begun to change. The chains that bound it wept fresh blood. The air around it grew warm, like breath on the skin, and in the stillness before dawn, some swore they heard it whisper. At the heart of the monastery, beneath 3 locked doors and a flight of frozen stairs, lay the Reliquary Chapel. Brother Lucien descended alone that night, his torch throwing restless shadows over the walls. The reliquary rested on its altar, a coffer of gold fused with bone, its iron bands hammered shut centuries before. The air smelled of rust and something sweet, like overripe fruit. Blood seeped slowly from the seams, trickling along grooves in the stone, as if the altar had been carved for it to flow. Abbot Marek claimed it was a relic of the Archangel's war, a gift to the church, yet too dangerous for Rome to keep within its walls. But lately, the brothers had noticed changes. The bleeding grew heavier when the siege drew near. Candles in the chapel bent their flames toward it, as though drawn by a breath. And sometimes, in the flicker of that light, a shadow moved across the reliquary that belonged to no living thing. That night, as Lucien set his torch in the wall bracket, he swore he heard a voice in the stone itself. It was not Latin. It was not any language he knew, but the sound coiled through his bones like heat through iron. The siege had raged for 2 nights without rest, but on the 3rd morning, the sound of the battering ram fell silent. No arrows struck the walls, only the wind remained. Brother Lucien stepped into the cloister and saw bloody footprints in the snow, leading from the crypt toward the dormitory. The prints were bare, the toes long, the gait uneven, as if the walker had never worn shoes. Inside, a novice lay on the floor, his eyes wide and glassy. His throat was torn open, yet not a drop of blood marked the stones beneath him. Abbot Marek ordered the gates barred and the brothers to fast until the relic starved. No bread, no wine, no speech. That night, the enemy did not return to the walls. But in the candlelit dark, something moved through the halls, passing from shadow to shadow without sound. And the brothers realized the siege outside had ended, because the true enemy was already within. Brother Lucien climbed the icy stair to the wall and looked out across the battlefield. The enemy camp was gone. The siege towers, the ladders, the ram, all vanished. Only the snow remained. and long crimson trails leading back to the monastery gates. The gates had never been opened, which meant the dead had come inside. By nightfall, the relic's chains had broken. The coffer sat open on the altar, though no hand in the monastery dared claim it. What rested within was not an object, but a form, blurred in the torchlight, hunched and wrong-shaped, with movements that made the eye slip away. It spoke through the mouths of the dead. Voices Lucien knew, warm and pleading, spilling from cold lips that could not move. It promised the end of famine. It promised an end to the snow. It promised life without death. And one by one, the brothers began to kneel before it. Lucien fled with the relic clutched in his arms, the wind clawing at his robe. He climbed to the highest tower, the blizzard tearing the breath from his lungs. Below, the courtyard burned, firelight bending toward the tower as if drawn to the relic. On the parapet, Lucien stood at the edge. The voice inside the coffer spoke in his own voice now. It promised to end the cold. It promised to raise the brothers. It promised him eternity. Lucien's fingers loosened on the iron bands. Snow swirled into the open mouth of the coffer, and somewhere deep inside, something reached back. The chronicles end there. But centuries later, in the vaults beneath the Vatican, a plain wooden crate bears the seal of Saint Theodric. Inside, wrapped in black cloth, rests a coffer of gold and bone. Its iron bands rusted, its edges damp. Some relics are not kept for veneration. Some are kept so the world forgets they ever existed. And when they are opened again, the siege begins anew. LitReads now has channel memberships. If you'd like to support the channel and unlock exclusive perks, like loyalty badges and a place among the acknowledged, you can join the Reader's Circle below. It's a small way to help keep the library doors open, links in the description.